Welcome everyone to today's webinar, How to Effectively Defend Networks from Security Threats and Malware. Hello, my name is Kenneth Bitz. I'm the Strategic Alliance Director for Tactical Flex Inc. We are very pleased today to have with us Mr. Byron Rashed, Director of Global Marketing and Product Development at Emerging Threats. In a few minutes, Byron will share his presentation on malware trends, associated business risk, and malware protection. Byron will also provide us with an overview of the Suricata Intrusion Detection System open source technology, which is growing in popularity. We're very pleased to be working with Emerging Threats, Tactical Flex is. And in the second portion of today's webinar, we will introduce you to the Aanval SAS console, and Eric Smith, the Customer Relationship Manager at Tactical Flex, will provide a brief product tour of the Aanval console. And we will conclude today's webinar by answering your questions and providing you with our contact information. And in the event that we don't have enough time to answer all the questions, we will, of course, provide you with the answers directly via email or phone. So who is today's presentation for? We've specifically targeted today's presentation for IT professionals who are entrusted with network security tasks and have a holistic view of protecting their environment to ensure the organization's data is protected. We've also targeted this presentation for organizations who are searching for comprehensive intrusion detection and intrusion prevention solutions to help keep their company's network safe from ongoing threats like malware and hacking. We've also targeted IT departments who want to acquire valuable situational awareness technology to deepen their knowledge of what's happening right now on their network for security awareness. And lastly, we've targeted folks who are using Suricata and Snort and are interested in learning how Aanval SAS and Emerging Threats can be utilized together to help enhance network visibility and threat protection against malware, thereby minimizing your business risk. We're very pleased today to have Byron with us. And Byron, we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say about the malware trends, associated business risk, and the malware protection.
Today, what I would like to do is give you a little bit of an overview of emerging threats and talk about the business risks and how we're going to help you combat malware with ET Pro Ruleset and using the Suricata engine. And as Kenneth also mentioned, that we are platform agnostic. So we do work well with Snort, Suricata, and other IDS, IPS platforms. So with that, let me go ahead and start the presentation. And we will, having a little trouble with the slides, but hopefully I'll get that fixed here. Okay, here we go. Great. So let me go back one real quick. So our agenda today will be about emerging threats, some of the malware motivations. Everybody hears about malware, but why do people do it? Well, there's reasons why people do it, and we'll discuss that a little bit. And some of you may know, and there are probably some things you don't know about it. The business risks and cost of malware. So today, everybody in an organization, whether you're the administrative assistant, or you're the CEO, or anywhere in between, IT administrator, security administrator, you are all learning about business risk, right? This is a very important thing in the business environment today and in the past few years. Then we'll get into the ET Pro Ruleset, talk a little bit about the rule set and what it does and how it protects your network from basically malicious threats coming in. Give a little talk about Suricata, which is a very cost-effective IDS solution. The benefits of the ET Pro Ruleset on the Suricata engine. So this will be a very interesting thing, and also a very cost-effective way of creating an IDS IPS system. And then I'll give you some contact information. If you have any questions later on, feel free to drop me a line. There's some other good links on there for information. So with that, let's go ahead and start our presentation. So a little bit about emerging threats, and I won't bore you with this. I'll go over it pretty quickly. And was initially founded as an open source community over 10 years ago by Matt Youngman, who's the president and founder of the OISF. Matt is also our CTO. So Matt is one of the leading experts in malware and speaks all around the world about malware, very, very heavily involved in government organizations, so on and so forth, to help combat malware. So Matt is a very, very good resource if you have any questions or if you are able to listen to him speak. I have, and I've had the pleasure of doing it. He's an excellent speaker and a very, very well-experienced expert on malware. Our industry-leading products and solutions, we have our Pro Ruleset, which we'll talk about as we move on. And we just came out with, at the beginning of the year, our IQ Risk Rep suite of products. So we have our IQ Risk Rep list, which is an IP reputation list. And we also have our IQ Risk Rep query, which is actually going to be coming out within the next couple months. And what that is, it's our threat intelligence product, where you can go in and query IP addresses and domains which you feel may be malicious. It will give you a history, categories, so on and so forth. Currently, we have a customer base of 250 worldwide. We are a global company. Our staff is comprised of top researchers throughout the world. So we are basically almost a virtual company where we have people located at the four corners of the globe, so to say. And let's move on. So malware motivation. Okay, why do these guys do it? Well, the number one reason is for cash. What they want to do is steal money. And this is a huge amount of money that they can take, whether it be from an organization, a bank, financial institutions, anywhere that they can blackmail for cash, they will do. Stealing data for cash, stealing credit card information, stealing social security numbers, identity theft. It all boils down a lot to cash. And this is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Data. Okay, we see a lot of data being stolen and sold at times. So data is very important to somebody that's hacking in. What kind of data is there? How can I use this to make cash or perform other things, such as our next topic is warfare. So now you see a lot of times, cyber warfare going on in countries, which has been going on for a while, espionage. But now it's become more complex. This is where it's going. Also, I would include in warfare the blackmailing that's done today. If you want your data back or you don't want us to use the data, you will pay us X amount of money. So that is very prevalent and starting to happen. But basically, malware motivation of these three things. And these three things can destroy an organization and governments, technically. So we do see it. It's usually brushed under the rug a little bit, but it's out there and it's very, very prevalent. And we'll move on to our next slide. So here's some startling facts. And I've been in the industry for over a decade. And when I saw some of these, I actually was taken back. And this is not uncommon today. We see organizations, there's an average of 102 successful malware attacks per week. And that's a 42% increase from year end of last year. This is amazing. This is unbelievable. You will see that the number of successful malware attacks, as much as the number of malware attacks, has risen exponentially. And this is something that is really to be looked at, and it's a big concern. What we're seeing now, of course, everybody has mobile phones, right? We live in a mobile society. We're seeing attacks on Android-based devices. They increased 17 times from 2011 to 2013. That's phenomenal. It's just showing how we are so unprepared for malware attacks. And especially on these new OSs that are coming in, and of course, a lot of times, and those of you in the security industry will hear, right, security is an afterthought. Well, these facts are proving that security is an afterthought. Let's build something, let's make sure it has a lot of features, let's show what we can do with it, but, we'll see what happens, or we forget about security. And really what that does is some damage, and we're going to talk a little bit about that as we go forward. The overall malware samples on mobile devices, and this is all OSs, increased 44 times. And that's, you know, I don't know what else to say. That's a pretty staggering number right there. There's a huge threat to BYOD environments. For those of you who allow your employees to come in and bring their own device, you know, you're open up to malware attacks, you're opening up to intrusion, to proliferation of malware, so on and so forth. So this is a big concern for IT professionals, especially in the BYOD environments. And it's becoming more prevalent. So we allow the, you know, they say with freedom comes some losses. And one of the things that when you are in a secure environment, you do lose a lot of that freedom, right? We hear about this every day in everything, not just IT, but in airport security, so on and so forth. Well, it holds true also to these BYOD environments. And of course, this is really the key here, the last bullet point. Malware has become more sophisticated and harder to detect. You really have to be experienced now to look at some of the malware that's coming through. You have people that develop these malicious threats that are extremely sophisticated, extremely intelligent, that know networks, that know software, know hardware, and they are becoming extremely sophisticated. A lot of times they go undetectable. They're hidden so well. So one of the things that we have to do as far as security professionals or companies that make security products to protect customers' networks is we have to stay ahead of the curve of this sophistication and detection. And one of the things that we do is, of course, is to make sure that we research and make sure that our products are, of course, up to snuff. And we are looking at samples constantly, every minute of the day. Next slide, please. So let's take a look at the average cost of malware, the average containment of malware attack. So a lot of things, what you'll see is, you know, everything's related to cost, right? And cost is not always what it is. In fact, well, let me go back. Excuse me, I hit the button too fast. The average cost of a malware attack, okay? Now, here's really where the rubber meets the road, right? The average malware compromise recovery cost is $3,000 a day. The average cost of over 24 days is $519,000 plus. That's $500,000 in 24 days. That this can really hurt an organization. Can you imagine a small company going through this? This can actually decimate some small companies. For larger organizations, they can absorb it, but still, it's a loss, which affects everything from stock prices on down. It affects profit margins. It affects, you know, many things. The average annualized cost of cybercrime is $8.9 million, and that ranges from $1.4 to $46 million. That's really phenomenal. You know, you're looking at a lot of money right now in the millions, and that I believe is going to rise. However, there is some good news. Companies using security intelligence systems, they say an average of 1.6 million because they can contain the threat or they can contain the activity that has entered the network. So with devices, with software, with consoles, with SIMs, you can actually now contain it pretty good. And the industry has really done a good job of that. So a lot of times you'll see an infection come in or a threat that has came in, it's contained pretty rapidly. Also, you know, don't forget we have IT security professionals round the clock monitoring systems. So when it does come in, it's more of it's a very fast reaction and very proactive. So this is why you'll see this number, which is, even though it may look like a big number, it's relatively small where we've been in the past, I would have to say, decade or so. You'll see some losses from high-profile companies, compromises, and Sony at 171 million, Citigroup 2.7 million, Stratfor, you know, 2 million, AT&T 2 million, and these really affect their bottom line, especially these public companies. So you're seeing more and more of this happening, and this is really becoming an issue. You know, with all the way down from the board of directors down to the consumer, and you know, it affects everybody today. So let's look at the average containment of a malware attack. Well, you know, there's some things that you can put a number on, and there's some things you can't. And those are the intangible factors. But you have to understand those have to be included in as well. So one of the things that you'll see, and you'll see some other organizations that had some very, very dramatic effects and negative effects on PR. Okay, their public relations, PR damage control, incident response teams, and all the other immediate things, plus the time that executives have to take, the time to, react, the overtime numbers, so on and so forth. These are really, really intangible and some tangible factors that add up very quickly and are very taxing not only on the staff, but on the organization as a whole. One of the things that also, as you'll see, of course, with legislations that are out today, whether it be SOX or HIPAA or GLBA, there are fines associated with compliance breaches. So one of the things that you have to also take into account is that a company is liable if they have a compliance breach, right? It's just not, well, it happened and that's it. No, unfortunately, there's monetary recourse that has to happen, and companies do pay these large fines. In these average cost numbers that I gave you, they don't include, revenue loss from system downtime or productivity. I couldn't even imagine how many millions and billions of dollars are lost from that right there. Intellectual property related costs. Again, this is where you'll see, espionage come in. I've gotten some intellectual property. I can, be in China or somewhere else, steal your design and basically come after me. You can't. So, these are things that, organizations are looking into, and again, they're becoming more sophisticated, more problematic. One of the things is company regulated information, denial of service attacks. They can damage brand reputation. I'm trying to get on the website, it's shut down. I'm trying to purchase things, it's shut down. Trying to get information, it's shut down. We saw this time and time again. Large organizations, especially the e-commerce sites that get shut down. This is not, believe me, this is not uncommon today. And especially for those smaller e-commerce sites, when they get shut down, they really get shut down, and that can do a lot of damage. One of the things that I was a little surprised at was actually pretty quick. The average time to contain a malware attack is 24 days. And again, we talked about that with the beef up of intrusion, the reaction to malware attacks, so on and so forth. But again, the average cost of 24 days is $500,000. And like I previously said, this can really hurt smaller organizations and probably take them out of business. The average time to contain malicious insider attack, which could be really, really bad. When you get an attack from the inside, they know the system really well, it's over 50 days. They can do a lot of damage because this is happening everywhere, and containment is a little bit, it can't be contained, it's already there. So, again, devastating numbers, and again, I was very surprised at what I saw when I saw these. So one of the things that we see is effect on malware reputation. Again, these are just numbers that I wanted just to show again about the declared losses from companies. And these are staggering. Now, for these companies, it's probably not that much if you really think about it, with how much they make. But can you imagine a smaller company going through this? I mean, this would be very devastating. So really good slide. I just kept that on a separate slide as well, just to show you, because that's important, that the big guys lose a lot of money too. So let's talk about the ET Pro Ruleset. So what the ET Pro Ruleset, this is our intellectual property. And what happens is that we collect a whole bunch of malware samples a day from major AV companies. We have 40+ members in this consortium, and of course emerging threats collects too. We exchange this malware. What we then do is we run it through an internal and external SAN net, and we get PCAPs out of those. And with the PCAPs, we send it down to the data engine, which basically will analyze the malware. We actually run the malware to see what it's doing, and we infect the system, a controlled system, of course. And what happens then is we write our ET Pro rules, we write our IQ risk reputation, our DNS reputation, and other ancillary information. So this is kind of our secret sauce right here. So when you see, especially in our ET Pro rule set, it goes through an extensive analysis of the malware, and the number of samples is just amazing. Right there, 150,000 and 250,000 malware samples each day, and that's a staggering amount of numbers. The good news is that most malware contains roughly about, they contain a lot of the characteristics. So one of the things when writing a rule set is that a lot of the rule sets are already written for the majority of these samples, because it would be almost impossible to write 250 individual rules, right, per day. But there are a handful, which are the ones that really you have to sit down, analyze, look at, write the rule set, and you have to be very skilled in doing this. And as I mentioned before, one of the points I wanted to make is how sophisticated they are becoming and how harder they are to detect. So this is where we stand out right here, where we get these samples in, we find them, write the rule set, counteract them, and then put them into the ET Pro rule set. So here's how the ET Pro rule set works. It's easily ingested into an IDS IPS. We block over 80% of malware coming in. You will never block 100% of malware. It just doesn't happen. I think in the IT security space, we've came to have acceptable risk. And knowing that not everything is going to be foolproof, we assume some of this risk. But if you're looking at it, the firewall basically does not block malware. It goes right through. We'll go into the IDS IPS and then into the corporate network where it should be malware free or thereabouts. One of the things that we do, we have a baseline rule set of about 19,000 rules in our rule set every day. And again, and here's where I said that a lot of those rules have characteristics of, you know, the majority of the samples that come in, but there's those that are new and that we have to sit and analyze. So that's about 5 to 30 new rules a day. And remember, there's a lot of work that goes into this. You know, you say 5, oh, that's not a lot, but to analyze it, run it through a system, have the system infected, see what it does, that takes quite a bit of time to do that. We also do the feedback loop to reduce false positives, to make sure that what's coming in is not a false positive, right? One of the things that we are definitely platform independent. So we do run on Suricata, which we'll talk about in a little bit, and we do run on Snort, and other platforms that we can customize the rule set. So basically the rule set, you just ingest it into the IDS IPS engine, make sure your settings are correct, and you have a very, very comprehensive set of malware rules running on your system. So let's talk a little bit about Suricata. Suricata is an OISF project, which is funded partially by the government, and again, ran by Matt Yonkman, our CTO and the president of the OISF. So the way that this started off was it was an open source project, basically to develop a very, very efficient IDS IPS engine. And there are a lot of benefits into Suricata. So as you see, it's very cost effective. It is open source based IDS. It's developed by the OISF, like I said. The first beta was introduced in December of 2009, so it's been around a while and tested very well. And here's some of the supported OSs, FreeBSD, Linux, Unix, Mac OS, Microsoft Windows. So it runs on basically almost everything. Licensing and availability, it's a GPU license, GNU or U. And there is a web link you can go to find out more about it, and I do have those links at the last contact page. So this project has been going on for quite a while. As you see, the logo there is a mongoose looking out, and there's a story behind that Matt told me, and I'm not going to go into it. But anyway, it's a cute little guy. So that's some of the things about Suricata, the founding principles of it. Some of the features and benefits of Suricata are great. You won't see this in a lot of IDS IPSs, but a multi-threaded engine. So what the multi-threaded engine means, it can do various channels at once. It does fast stateful inspection, and it does dynamic packet filtering. It has low latency for the faster speeds, again, using the multi-thread. Automatic protocol detection, so it automatically detects what protocol it is, especially in the multi-port HTTP stream. Easy rule detection and control, plenty of settings you could set up to create policies, so on and so forth. It does utilize native hardware acceleration support. So this is really good if you have a really high-end server that you can run it on. And as you know, anytime you're dealing with compute-intensive functions, it does tend to slow the system down. So what Suricata does do, it enables the offloading onto the hardware acceleration platforms that will be in the server. IP DNS reputation and speed, that's also very good. It doesn't slow it down. You're not going to see a loss or latency. It does file identification, extraction, MD5 sum matching. These are all some really good features, especially when you're looking at malware to prevent it, verify that that it is what it is, so on and so forth. It also does SSL cert extraction and matching, analysis and logging. So these are some really good features that you'll see in Suricata that you probably won't see in some IDS or most IDS IPS systems. So extremely interesting. It's a very, very valuable IDS IPS system. And let's talk a little bit about the benefits of the ET Pro Ruleset in the Suricata engine. Well, here's the number one, right? Everybody looks at performance. So it's been demonstrated as a 10 gigabit per second throughput. This is really fast. This is high performance. And again, and that's because it also uses the hardware acceleration platform in the server. So this really increases the speed and the efficiency of the IDS IPS. It's malware CNC focused. So again, you'll see about 10 to 30 rules per day. I think the other slide said 5 to 30. I would have to say on the average we do about 20, 21 rules a day. And those are rules that, of course, have never been, malware that hasn't been seen before, or that just recently came out that we've caught in our SANnet, so on and so forth, and through the malware exchange. One of the things we do provide, which I believe no other IDS IPS rule set developer does, is we provide daily rules. So all these rules are updated daily. You can upload them as many times as you like with a license. You can upload them every minute if you'd like. It doesn't really matter. But one of the things that should be done, of course, for the IDS IPS is that you should upload these rules daily, making sure that your IDS IPS system is up to date against any zero-day exploits and any current malicious threats. Again, the efficiency is multi-threaded. I keep on saying that's a big part because you really don't want latency in the system. And it's cost-effective. You're getting a very high-end, high-end product at a fraction of the cost. So if you look at some of the boxes out there, if you were to buy, let's say, server configured be around $5,000. Suricata engine is of course free, and the rule set, which is around $500. You're looking, somewhere around $5,500 for a very, very high-end IDS IPS system. And that today is a very, very cost-effective system, especially for the enterprise. So with that, I'm pretty much finished with my presentation. I hope I've given you enough information. If there isn't and you need to contact me for more, please email me at brashed@emergingthreats.net. Here's our sales email. So if you're interested in our ET Pro Ruleset or any of our other products, please go ahead and, of course, visit the website and find out. And we'd love to see you at some of our events coming up. We'll be working on our second half events calendar in the next couple weeks. So please check back. And here's some information on Suricata, so you can actually see some of the stuff that's going on there and more of the new development that's going on with Suricata. So with that, I'd like to thank Kenneth and hand it over to Eric.
Byron, thank you very much. We appreciate your comments and your insights and sharing with us what Emerging Threats has been discovering about malware and the security threats that are affecting companies all around the globe. I'm actually going to be talking briefly about Tactical Flex and Aanval to introduce our product to everyone. First of all, Tactical Flex. We're going to change some slides here and get the Tactical Flex was started in 2003, and ever since then, the company has been building information security, vulnerability, and risk management solutions and providing information security services to companies all around the globe. Tactical Flex now is a trusted security vendor with its products and services protecting a wide variety of industries, over 6,000 organizations, as I mentioned, worldwide. And we believe that security is not a one-time purchased product. We are constantly developing products and services that evolve in parallel to the industry technology advancements. We also value our customers, and we listen and respond quickly to their suggestions and ideas. An overview on Aanval to prepare you for Eric's tour of the product. Aanval is the industry's most comprehensive Suricata, Snort, and Syslog intrusion detection, correlation, and threat management console. Aanval delivers a new level of situation awareness so that you can make sense of all that captured log data, thus effectively strengthening your organization's security posture. Aanval SAS was designed to heighten your level of real-time security monitoring and security intelligence and enable you to more quickly respond to those incidences. Aanval's intrusion detection approach to security threat management helps your organization proactively seek out potential problems long before they actualize, enabling you to instead of operating in a reactive mode, to be more proactive and more quickly responding to those incidences. So the incidences are increasing every year, and we're seeing more and more issues for companies to deal with. So how can Aanval help you and your company deal with these problems? Aanval delivers situation awareness to help you improve your network visibility and overall security posture, to defend your network so that you can successfully protect it from those intruders. Aanval detects and reacts faster to security events while reducing false positives and false alarms. And those false positives may be the most significant pitfall of nearly all current day intrusion detection and correlation systems. However, Aanval is equipped with the new automated event validation feature that's going to help you identify and reduce the amount of false positives. Aanval provides also operational efficiency and security automation while reducing your monitoring costs. Many security service providers are finding that scalability is their greatest challenge, particularly when dealing with large networks and many IDS devices. Aanval is the only threat management console on the market with the ability to automatically scale to meet the needs of its environment, supporting millions and even billions of Snort, Suricata, and Syslog events fully automated, and it continues as long as the storage space is available. Aanval's overall primary function is to correlate data from multiple sources, bringing together billions of events and present you, the user, with a holistic view of false positive free network security situation awareness. We very much appreciate your joining us today. And now Eric Smith, our Customer Relationship Manager at Tactical Flex, is going to provide us with a tour of the Aanval console so you can see how Aanval actually works and how it can benefit your organization. Eric, thank you.
Thank you, Kenneth. All right, we're going to switch over to our other screen here. There we go, so we can see our console here. And again, I want to thank Byron for joining us today and speaking especially about Suricata and the ET Pro Ruleset and exactly what they can do, because those are definitely some features that we want to show you exactly how easy it can be to manage those signatures, and again, many of the automation tools that are available, and also manage remotely the sensor itself. So just to start on that, I mean, it can take a lot of time to actually visit the command line, visit the different categories of rules, enabling and disabling them. So some great tools that we've provided. You can actually manage those signatures directly from the console. Immediately here we have our whatever policy we're using, and we can visit the different categories, enable, disable, whatever rules we need. And again, we understand that there are thousands and thousands of signatures available. You can even, again, limit whatever search you want to pick up just the signatures you need and need to enable. And then once that's complete, it just comes down to essentially sending basic messages directly to these sensors to update those signatures, grab what existing signatures might be there, allowing you to then manipulate them and send any changes back to the sensor. You can do this all remotely. And also in regards to those signatures, again, Aanval is a tool. Byron was mentioning how the ET Pro Ruleset, they update those daily. And with that, Aanval is a tool that can grab those signatures daily, and it does, letting you know exactly when it grabs them, how large the file was. But not only that, it grabs those updates and then automatically pushes them to the sensors. So whatever signatures you had actually enabled on the sensors, you then get those updates pushed right to it. And you're notified of that too. We have a great messaging system up here that will provide that message letting you know that the latest signatures were imported and pushed to your sensors. So again, just some great tools to take advantage of the fantastic ET Pro Ruleset and Suricata that Byron and his team are producing. Now, some other tools that can especially assist with this effort of detecting and managing both events and threats. Kenneth touched on the idea of situational awareness and also false positives. Again, as he noted, false positives, that's one of the largest reasons why folks that try IDS solutions fail, because they just get choked with false positives. Now, if we can detail to Aanval exactly what devices we have on the network and how they communicate with the network, we can do a couple of things. First of all, we can then determine what kind of traffic comes through the network, and we can determine if it's a false positive or if it's a true event. And so as we're looking over here, we're seeing some recent Snort events, and we're seeing that they have passed validation. So we can then understand that these are real events because they've come through the devices that we've defined with the services that we've defined. And so going along with this idea comes situational awareness. Again, it's that idea that you as an analyst, you are fully aware of what's on your network, how it operates, and what's been happening so that you can make quick and informed decisions. If there's a current pitfall, where there might be a possible pitfall in the future, where you need to place your time and resources. Now, I guess just as a note here, we're looking at a test environment, so we're not really seeing any external traffic. We're seeing this minimal internal traffic with a couple of devices, but still, all these features are activated, and it'll still show a great example as to how it can look and operate on your own network. So if we go right to situational awareness here, we're going to get a default readout of what's been happening on our network for the past 24 hours. And this is giving us a great bird's eye view as to exactly what's been happening. So if we look at these device events as a source, this is us looking at all of the devices on the internal network and the events and traffic that they are producing. So these are your employees, all the folks that you are directly monitoring. And so basically up front, we can see that we're not seeing any risk 1 or risk 2 events. That's great. Those are the high risk that we don't want. We can see some risk 3 activity, which is coming through as kind of a mild warning. So nothing of a great concern. And if we look at these device events as a destination, this would be us looking at all of the external traffic, everyone from the outside that might be attacking these boxes. And so again, immediately, we don't see any risk 1 or risk 2 events. That's great. We're not seeing really any events from these other devices. And again, we're seeing some risk 3 events. So immediately, within the past 24 hours, I can tell you that this network is healthy. We're not seeing any, again, high-risk events. Now, a lot of folks have been using Suricata or Snort for some time, but they don't have a great or a proper front end for it. And so instances like that, you can change this view to, again, last 7 days, 12 hours, 90 days, or even all the events that are in the current data store. Because you might have some historical data that you could load into Aanval, and we can then determine historically what's been happening on your network. Because again, there may be some pitfalls of which you're not aware. But again, Aanval can highlight those for you. So just some other great tools for determining risk and keeping you situationally aware. Now, when it comes to adding devices, this can be done in a number of ways. And this is where some other functionality of Aanval comes in. Because our latest versions also include Nmap integration. Now, Nmap, again, this is a great port scanning tool that can deliver a lot of information about exactly what's on the network. Now, when it comes to, again, finding these devices, this can be done in a couple of ways. We can manually find and add these devices. So for one, I'm going to show you another tool here called Offensive Reconnaissance. And again, this is one of our Nmap-powered features that manually we can enter any host or IP address, arm it, and perform a scan. And as soon as we do, it takes us right to reconnaissance management, where this will show us the results of all of our scans. And they come back pretty quickly here. And there we go. Okay, letting us know what we scan, the current Nmap version. And I should also note that Aanval does work with Nmap 6.0 and above, 6.25 being the latest and especially most detailed, especially in regards to its fingerprint results, letting you know exactly what is running the box you just scanned. And so this is one way to obtain that information. And again, I was using it just on an internal network, but a lot of folks, again, they're using this tool to obtain information about those possible would-be attackers. Now, this is something that we can set up in a manual fashion. We've also created a great action management menu that allow users to use this in an automated fashion. For an example, I'll just go right here to an action that I've created to send me an email anytime someone successfully logs into the network. But additionally, what I can do, I can set a number of criteria here based on essentially anything that might come through on the network. I mean, risk level, ID, text that might be within the payload or something. And I can set multiple criteria to match. And then under these actions to be performed, I can also say, perform offensive reconnaissance. Again, leaving this blank because it'll be automatically filled with that offending IP that generated the event itself. And so this is another way to use these features on an automated fashion. Now, another option of which I spoke regarding adding these devices, this is another great Nmap-powered feature under network management. Now, this is where we can very simply create our own network, give it its IP range, and Aanval then routinely scans the network looking for new hosts that might be connected to the network. And again, as Byron mentioned, the environments where it's bring your own device, this can be a very effective tool in determining who's connecting to the network. And not only that, but also determining what is connecting to the network. Because just with this simple addition that I've done to tell Aanval to scan the network, and by default, it's going to scan every 24 hours. And again, those are intervals that you can determine even every 5 minutes if you want. But then from that, if we go right to our Aanval console here, looking at as a sensor, because it acts as its own sensor and records its own events, telling you when someone successfully logged in, or also letting you know during its scan, well, it didn't find any new hosts. However, I am aware of one that it did find. Looking in our event details here, we go right to the payload, and it's telling us exactly how many devices it found, and giving it our IP address of exactly what it found. Not only that, if we come back here to device management, again, this is the area where we can manually enter these devices. But looking up here, our top device, this is a device that it automatically scanned. It found this information and logged it and recorded it, and just throw it in as part of our network because it understands that it's connected. Well, it must be part of our network. So it found all of this information, added it, and essentially just made it part of the pie. And it did all of this automatically. So again, some great tools that we've added to, again, determine what's on your network and how it's operating. Now, some other great features that I want to highlight are going to be the many views that we provide to actually, again, view and determine what's happening on your network. Again, down here, you get kind of a taste of our timeline viewer, letting you see the spikes on exactly what's been happening, where some high levels of high traffic might be. But when we go to charts and graphs, we can look at a more detailed timeline browser, one in which we can change its view here, lengthening whatever time we want. But not only that, it's also incorporating a number of high colors and spikes so that visually, again, quickly, you can see those spikes. But not only that, you can see what might be coming through as a high risk, which we're seeing right here. Another helpful tool, again, we mentioned that there are thousands of rules available to activate on these sensors. And some of them may not always be helpful or necessary for your particular environment. So when we look at frequent events, we can see those signatures that are targeting or I guess flagging most frequently. And now in some environments, employees using social media may not be a problem. And so if you see a signature that's constantly flagging Facebook activity, you can see that that's really not necessary. It's essentially a nuisance event, something that you don't need. And so that's something that you can then disable and, again, easily and quickly send those changes to your sensors. So another tool for essentially creating and honing your own signature recipe for your environment. When we look at frequent offenders and targets, this also incorporates our geolocation maps. So we can see and gather information about a particular IP and essentially the events they've been creating, and also see exactly where they're located. Now, again, this is only especially useful when you're looking at external traffic. And another great tool is going to be, I mean, aside from these other views here, I want to highlight frequent tags. Because tagging is another system that we've recently updated that allows you to not only view, but I guess detail directly your own events. Now, a lot of you might be the sole person viewing this data. You might have a small team of it. And so this is where a feature like this is especially handy to see exactly what your team is tagging, flagging. What do they see as important? What kind of additional notes have they added that adds to that idea, again, of situational awareness? What's happening on your network? And so with that, I want to check out our tagging system. I didn't mention it before, but as an automated action, again, should we find a risk one event or whatever we want, one of those automated actions that we can perform would be to tag the event. And we would tag it as whatever we want, as malware or whatnot. But some other great tools, especially when it comes to tagging different events, we can, here in our tagging events menu, we can first filter exactly what we want to view. Let's say we just want to look at our Snort sensor. We can look at the last 25 events. We'll just leave it at 25. And we can look at anything that might have been already previously tagged. We'll just leave that blank, and it'll show us these events. Now, this is something where we can individually select these events. We can also mark all of them at once. And we say, well, this is kind of a low risk. I really don't care about these. And say, tag the events in their tag. Now, the Aanval console also comes with its own kind of fresh tagging system here with the option of adding your own additional tags. And as we see, we have malware selected here, letting you know exactly how many times it's been used currently in previous data stores in total. And that's the same kind of view you'll see on any of these tags and exactly their frequency. And then, of course, in addition to, I guess, just viewing and tagging multiple times, anytime you're viewing an event, simply by clicking here on the event details, you'll have the option to add individual tags. And there we go. We're seeing the most recent tag that we just added at that tag events menu. We can delete that here and individually add additional tags. And so that's just kind of I guess, a basic idea as to some of the great features available on Aanval. Again, many of it's just logging and correlational and threat management tools. And again, there are many more available, and those that we may not have highlighted today, that's again something that we do have available on our Aanval TV YouTube site, or we can also show you in just a personalized one-on-one demo. But I want to turn the time back over to Kenneth because he had a couple of other points he wanted to mention, then we wanted to open it up for kind of a Q&A. So I'll turn the time back to you, Kenneth.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate you taking the time to give us a tour of Aanval, and that was a fast and furious tour. We certainly didn't get to reveal and share all of the features of this robust product that is being used by folks all around the world to secure their network. We know that the attendees today are serious about protecting their network and using solutions that will help them do their job. If you'd like to learn more about Aanval and how it can protect your network and secure your data and the valuable assets that are on your network, Eric and I are certainly available to talk with you. We would love to discuss your situation and provide you with the information and assistance to evaluate Aanval. We would love to earn your business, and we know that Byron at Emerging Threats would also welcome calls to talk with you about emerging threats and Suricata and the rule sets that Emerging Threats offers. We would like to entertain some questions now. If you have a question, there's a control panel that will allow you to type in a question and submit it to us so we can answer that and respond to you.
One asking, how does the rule set get installed on the Aanval appliance? Well, if you're talking about the appliance itself, that's something that we take care of, because before Snort or Suricata can actually be installed and activated, there is a rule set required to actually get that activated. And I'll show you here in the console, again, another way to, I guess, install rule sets. Well, I guess first, one that we mentioned, again, as these rules are essentially activated on the sensor, we can use these sensor management tools to first, we would just send a message to get the Snort rules. And so that would then auto-populate a new policy, and it would show us the rules that are currently active on the sensor. But then in addition to that, when we come here to signature sources, this is where we can add additional sources. Like if we're looking at our ET rules here, it's a very simple process. Emerging Threats, they make it easy to create an account, and they quickly and easily display the URL that you need to download their rules with very little, I guess, configuration on your part. This is just simply where I detailed exactly what version of the rules I wanted. I added the URL, I gave it a name, and hit update. Aanval did the rest. It grabbed those rules, allows me to then manage whatever rules I want, and then push those to the sensors. And then based on whatever configuration I then do, Aanval then, again, daily grabs those updates from Emerging Threats and pushes those updates to the sensor all automatically. Now let's see here. Okay, here's another question asking, why does Aanval need the ET Pro Ruleset? Doesn't Aanval come with a rule set? Okay, and that's when we just kind of highlighted that, yes, to have a sensor activated, there is a rule set necessary to initially activate it. And again, that initial activation can be done with rules from Snort or Emerging Threats. But then on top of that, the ET Pro rule set, again, as Byron highlighted, just offer many advantages, many signatures and different signatures, and again, daily updates. And so there are just some great, I guess, advantages to having more than one rule set, and especially those rules from Emerging Threats. Okay. And I guess the last point I wanted to highlight, again, we're talking about this idea of situational awareness. Just wanted to highlight exactly how Aanval can accomplish that. Because not only are we talking about previously about adding these different devices on your network for visibility, but we want you to add as many logging devices, whether it's multiple Snort or Suricata instances at various locations, even worldwide. And also those devices that are capable of external logging. You can feed all of that directly to Aanval, and rather than at a per sensor cost, what we do is deliver you one license that's essentially an unlimited sensor capacity license, so that you can easily, again, without any budget restraints in the future, add any amount of sensors that you want and feed all of that data to Aanval. So again, you can be again, situationally aware and have the greatest level of visibility over your network. And in addition to that license, we also provide telephone and remote support, allowing us to quickly diagnose your problems and get them repaired. And then on top of that too, you also get console maintenance, allowing you to get every minor bug fix and build, and also every major upgrade, especially Aanval SAS being the latest major upgrade, offering many tools not available before. And so again, those are just some some of the details available with our latest packages and offerings. And again, those are something that we can talk with anyone individually with more detail. And so I'll just kind of turn the time back over to Kenneth. Looks like those were all the questions that we had for today.
Thank you, Eric, very much for your insight into Aanval and the console and the tour, as well as answering all those questions. I hope that the attendees today, it should be pretty clear to you that Aanval is indeed a very comprehensive Suricata, Snort, and Syslog Intrusion Detection, Correlation, and Threat Management console. Byron, we very much appreciate you sharing your insights and thoughts, as well as giving us a tour of Suricata and what your team is up to. You're advancing the cause to help everyone protect their data and secure their networks. We invite each one attending today to call us and talk with us to discuss your particular security needs and how Aanval and the emerging threats signatures can assist you in doing your job and help you do it better and more efficiently. Thank you, everyone, for attending today. We hope that you keep your network secure and protected and minimize those risks. Again, thanks so much for attending and joining us. Have a good day.